Obviously, since it's the Feast of Tabernacles, we're going to do a lesson on the Feast of Tabernacles.
All right, good.
It seemed like some of y'all was shocked that it was the Feast of Tabernacles.
I knew it was, but I thought you were going to remind me, man.
I did, and I reminded you. I did.
You did.
I texted you.
You did?
Yeah.
Text me on Yom Kippur.
One of those days last week.
It was Yom Kippur, but I didn't get the time. I knew the time was around the corner, but it came quick.
Yes.
Hello, my family.
Right.
It's good to see you, man.
So,
Leah, Brother Michael, Brother Malachi. Good to see Miguel out there. He's too short, I can't see him. He need to stand up, man. I was messing with you because I'm sitting down. Oh, there you go. I like you, man. You make an effort. There you go. Greetings to y'all in the house of y'all. Greetings, and that's twice, Sister Bleacher, man. Made it to a meeting yesterday. Now you're in the house of y'all. I'm proud of you. Go ahead. Excuse me, please.
Alright, so just want to go into some history of it and go into some witnesses.
Feast of Tabernacles.
Some witnesses of it, what they was going through during certain times, because sometimes they was just getting back into it. They was overthrowing people who were suppressing them. Kings was letting them celebrate it. It's just getting their experience and the importance of keeping Yah feast days, no matter what. As soon as you get the opportunity to do it, they did it. They just got finished. They just got out of bondage. First feast day, they kept it. You know what I'm saying? So, and some of them was dealing with the Feast of Tabernacles. So, just going to do some background on it first. Turn to Leviticus 23. And it's going to be in the 33, 23:33. And Yah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, The 15th day of this 7th month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles, which technically was, the first day of the week of the week. So it's been in it about 5 days, give or take. And it lasts 8 days. The 15th day of this 7th month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days unto Yah. On the first day ye shall be a holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein. 7 days shall ye offer an offering made by fire unto Yah. On the 8th day shall be a holy convocation unto you, and ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto Yah. It is the solemn assembly, and ye shall do no servile work therein. And it goes more on down to the details of sacrificing. They had to sacrifice a lot during this time. Every day, it was 15 goats, a truckload of cows. It was a lot of sacrificing during this time. So yeah, the rest of that is that. You then go to John chapter 7. Verse 1 on down. Read a little bit of this, a few verses. After these things, Yahusha walked in Galilee, for he would not walk in Jewry, which is Jerusalem, Judah, the land of Judah, part of that part, because the Jews sought to kill him. Even on the feast day, they was trying to kill Yahusha on the feast day. So he had to dip out,
Wow.
And as always, you got to really understand that too. You know what I'm saying? Don't be prideful. When you can just walk away sometimes. Because you look at the bigger picture. Yahusha like, man, we gotta have the tabernacles. I can't die before the tabernacles. Everything gotta go in order. I can't let Judah catch me because they trying to kill me. You know what I'm saying? And I'm trying to save them. You know what I'm saying? So, Verse 2. Now the Jews' feast of the Tabernacles was at hand. His brethren therefore said unto him, Depart hence and go into Judah, that they what's the word? Disciples also may see the works that thou doest. So, this is a precept that, Yahushua was keeping the feast day, and just because a lot of churches, they don't even recognize the tabernacle or do anything for it. It's just like reading a Sesame Street book. Okay, tabernacle, move on. Okay. And now we're going to go to Jubilees, chapter 16. Chapter 16. This even predates, just like the Shabbat predates Adam and Eve being on the earth. The tabernacle even predates Zion coming out of Egypt.
16.
Chapter 16, full chapter.
Okay.
All right. I'll read this on in verse 1. And on the new moon of the 4th month, we appeared unto Abraham at the oak of Mamre, and we talked with him, and we announced to him that a son would be given to him by Sarah, his wife. And Sarah laughed. We all know the backstory, For she heard that we had spoken these words with Abraham, and we admonished her, and she became afraid, and denied that she had laughed on the account of the words. And we told her the name of her son, as his name is ordained and written in the heavenly tablets, Isaac, and that when we returned to her at a set time, she would have conceived a son. And in this month, Yah executed his judgments on Sodom and Gomorrah and Zeboim and all the region of the Jordan. And he burned them with fire and brimstone and destroyed them until this day. Even as, lo, I have declared unto thee all their works, and they are wicked and sinners exceedingly, and that they defile themselves and commit fornication in their flesh, and work uncleanness on the earth. That sounds like Atlanta.
Hey man, speak something real quick, sir.
Yeah, Atlanta, boy. But see, brothers, this match ladies just don't get no.
Hey, real quick, verse 3. It said, and we told her the name of her son, and his name is ordained and written in the heavenly tablets. It is Joseph Code. All right. I like what he says. You got to understand when it's written in the heavenly tablets. People don't understand that name was written in Shamarim already. The name. Same with the name of Yahusha. Same with the name Abraham or Yuchanan. You know what I'm saying? All these names were written in the heavenly tablets. So who gives the right to change the name? It was already written in the heavenly tablets first. That's what y'all got me first time when I looked at that. He was telling me the same thing. He written these names in the heavenly tablets. So when it came down, like when Gabriel came down and talked to Miriam and Joseph and told you should call his name Yahusha for saying that's the name. So like I said, after the 8th day on the circumcision, they looked at Joseph. What should we call him? And then Yahusha. Same thing with Zechariah when he was dumb, couldn't speak. And it says, what should we call it? The day of the circumcision. Circumcision was the 8th day. They said, there's no son like him. And no name like this in your family named Yachanan. There's none. They looked at Zechariah. What should we name him? He got that written tablet. He says, Yachanan. Then his mouth was open. What if we would have named Zechariah? Nah, that would be my junior. I bet you won't be speaking today. Nah, it's messing with you. But but the heavenly tablets. Heavenly tablets. When Yah said the heavenly tablet, it was already written in Shamarine already before it came down to earth. Come on.
Verse 4. And that we return to her at a set time, she would have conceived a son. And in this month, Yah executed, in the middle 5. Even as lo, I have declared unto thee all their works, that they are wicked and sinners exceedingly, and that they defile themselves and commit fornication in their flesh, and work uncleanness on the earth. And in like manner, Yah executed judgment on the place where they have done according to the uncleanness of Sodomites, like unto the judgment of Sodom. But Lot we saved, for Yah remembered Abraham and sent him out from the midst of the overthrow. And he and his daughters committed sin upon the earth, such as not been seen on the earth since the days of Adam till his time, for the man laid with his daughter. And behold, it was commanded and engraving concerning all his seed on the heavenly tablets, to remove them and root them out, and to execute judgment upon them like the judgment of Sodom, and to leave no seed of the man on earth on that day of condemnation. And in the mouth of Abraham moved from Hebron, and departed, and dwelt between Kadesh and Shur in the mountains of Ur. And in the middle of the 5th month he moved from thence, and dwelt at the well of the oak. And in the middle of the 6th month Yah visited Sarah, and did unto her as he spoken, and she conceived, and she bore a son in the 3rd month. And in the middle of the month, at the time of which Yah had spoken to Abraham, of the festival of the first fruits of the harvest, Isaac was born. So, as you know, that's a unique thing. Isaac was born during the time of the first fruits. You know, Yah likes to do, anybody who's born and not dealing with, times of feast days, these are not just by chance. It's for a reason. And obviously, we know it's divine, first fruits. And only the holiest of holiest goes to Yah to be first fruits. But, that would be a lesson for the first fruits. And Abraham circumcised his son on the 8th day. He was the first that was circumcised according to the covenant, which is ordained forever. So, that's a big thing. The first one to take part of the covenant.
That's right.
And in the 6th year of the 4th week, we came to Abraham to the well of oak, and we appeared unto him as we had told Sarah that we should return to her, and she would have conceived a son. And we returned in the 7th month, and found Sarah with child before us, and we baraked him, and we announced to him all the things which had been decreed concerning him, that he should not die till he should beget 6 sons more, and should see them before he died. But that in Isaac should his name and seed be called, and that all seed of his sons should be Gentiles, and be reckoned with the Gentiles. But from the sons of Isaac one should become a holy seed. That's the thing a lot of people, have a hard time dealing with. Just like Ishmael, he had a hard time dealing with that. Just because, you out of that seed line of your father, if y'all didn't choose that particular, path, you got to quote unquote luck. Even though you came out of that, out of Abraham's loins, you wasn't called seed line. You know, they still bitter about that right now.
Bitter about that.
Very
man.
bitter. Very
Come on, man.
Very bitter.
But can I speak more?
Yeah.
But you gotta remember again too that Yah had blessed the children of Ishmael. You know, on that portion, but not like he blessed Yosakov. It's two separate blessings. That's why, and our pastor had to teach me this too, and he told me this. But y'all made me open my eyes on this one, and I share it again. That's why when you go over Iraq, Iran, Saudi Arabia, all that, you will never destroy those people. You cannot destroy those people. Those people over there are blessed through Abraham. Those seed line through Abraham. They're not the chosen people, but you can't go over that land and destroy them. Because y'all promised they'll always be blessed. But y'all always promised them too, they will always be fighting too. Just like Esau. Esau had to fight for everything he wants. Same with Israel people. They will fight for everything they want. They'll be fighting against brother and brother. Here you go.
Yeah, they were blessed with, I think it was 12 kings.
They were blessed that, yeah.
They would have great empires.
They would have great empire, that's correct.
Okay, verse 18. For he should become the portion of Yah, and all his seed had fallen into the possession of Yah, that it should be unto Yah a people for his possession above all nations, and that it should become a kingdom and priest and a holy nation. And we went our way, and we announced to Sarah all that we had told him. And they both rejoiced with exceeding greatness, with great joy. And he built there an altar to Yah, who had delivered him, and who was making him rejoice in the land of his sojourning. And he celebrated a festival of joy in this month, 7 days, near the altar which he had built at the well of the oak. And he built booths. So, you know, a lot of people don't know this. That's my point. This is even prior to the bondage of Egypt. You know, this is y'all probably had the Feast of Tabernacles in the kingdom before you even made the earth. You know what I'm saying? All these feast days, they just trickle down at certain events and certain points. They become manifest on the planet. Okay, and he built booths for himself and for his servants of the festival. And he was the first to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles on earth. Big deal. So it was a big party. You know, they did it big. And during these 7 days, he brought each day to an altar a burnt offering to Yah, 2 oxen. I'll skip over there because, again, it's about the sacrificing of animals. We all get that. Verse 25. And he celebrated this feast during 7 days, so 7 continual days, rejoicing with all his heart and with all his soul, he and all those who were in his house. And there was no stranger with him, nor any that was uncircumcised. And he brought his Creator, who had created him in his generation, for he had created him according to his good pleasure.
That's what you doing, man.
That's right.
Everybody doing that. Ain't nobody out there doing that, man. Anybody blessing Yah? Come on, bless his Creator, man. Mm-hmm. On Shabbat.
Mm-hmm. And feast days. For he knew and perceived that from him would arise the plant of righteousness for the eternal generations, and from him a holy seed, so that it should become like him who made all things. So again, you know, that's why I always speak about Israel being a big deal. You know, like the transformation that Israel is going to take place at the last minute is going to be, you know, you're going to be, you know, on divine level. You know, I don't know about everybody else, but I know Zion, they transformation is going to be, the man of Zion going to be something joyous, you know.
That's right.
Okay, and verse 27, and he blessed and rejoiced, and he called the name of this festival the festival of Yah, a joy acceptable to Yah. Most High. And we rocked him forever,
That's right.
and all his seed after him throughout all the generations of the earth, because he celebrated this festival in its season, according to the testimony of the heavenly tablets.
Okay, again, that tablet, it was already, like he said,
That's right.
written already. It was written in the tablet. It was there before the heaven and earth was created.
It is trickling down here.
Come on.
29. For this reason is it ordained on the heavenly tablets. And it's funny how, you know what I'm saying, there's nothing new, under the sun. And what everybody got now? Come on, I just said it. Tablets. So this demon, the fallen angel technology, is here. What you got, a tablet over there?
Yeah, I know I told you I had it.
Well, you know, we got the tablet, man.
Yeah.
You know, they probably up in there, you know, similar to what we have right now. You know, I used to always think about that, man. How you go from choo-choo trains to I'm going out of space? That makes no sense. It makes no sense.
That's correct.
Because the technology was just the same year after year after year after year, and just out of nowhere.
Then you got the train, then you got the steam engine.
We're going to the moon.
That's what I'm saying.
We got cell phones.
Cell phones.
I mean, just like that.
That's quick.
You know,
within 100 years, which in the century.
That's what I'm saying. I was in high school, like, that just don't make sense. You know, you just don't go from riding horses to trains for so long and just, you know, the Jetsons. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right. 29. For this reason it is ordained on the heavenly tablets concerning Israel, that they shall celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles 7 days with joy. So you can't have no, you know, like, man, I don't want to be here type folks, man. You know, I'd rather be with my new wife, or I got a business meeting to go to. Just like in Matthew, they was like, he invited them to the wedding, to the feast, and they was like, I'm busy. I just bought cars for my car lot. You know, we hiring people. You know, I'm busy, y'all. You know what I'm saying? So if they ain't coming with joy, you know, all right, the door be closed to them. Just like it was in Matthew. 7 days with joy, in the 7th month, acceptable before Yah, a statute forever throughout their generations, every year. And to this there is no limit of days, for it is ordained forever regarding Israel, that they should celebrate it, and dwell in booths, and set wreaths upon their heads, and take leafy boughs, you know, like the palm trees type stuff, and willows from the brook. And Abraham took branches of palm trees and the fruit of goodly trees, and every day going around the altar with the branches 7 times a day, 7 times a day. In the morning he praised and gave thanks to his Yah for all things enjoyed. So these are big things, you know, for especially Zion, you know, and anybody who want to follow, Yah, you know, these are things that are big things. There's pre-planned in the Shamarim, and they are to be enacted as we rehearse it down here. So, you know, if you ain't got a palm tree, I know we got some last year, but
no, I'm looking for my new one, man.
Yeah.
I missed out. I said I do want to give me a new one. I know Brother Faye will hook up with a new one, man. That thing
That was down
old
in
and
Wilmington.
dried up.
That was in Women's.
Oh, well, you can't go down to Wilmington. Wilmington done up. Wilmington is straight up done.
Yeah.
Maybe next year.
Ain't no way.
What?
Ain't no way down Wilmington.
No, it's down in Wilmington, but you go down there.
No, I said there is no way down in Wilmington.
There's no way down there. What you
I
mean?
mean, driving wise.
You could drive down there, but I'm talking about down there. Wilmington is straight up messed up.
Yeah, but yeah, so, you know, it's the palm trees, and that's why Satan, you know what I'm saying, in Los Angeles, you know what I'm saying, the fallen angels, what they put up everywhere. The palm trees are a big thing, you know what I'm saying, just like when Solomon built the temple, you know, before it got desecrated, you know, that palm trees everywhere. Palm trees are a special thing to y'all. I don't know why, but, you know.
They say then when Yahushua went into the temple, Last day through palm trees down the ground.
Hosanna, Hosanna, you know. So for some reason, a special thing, and Satan knows that too. That's why in Los Angeles, the fallen angels, quote unquote, that's why they put palm trees up there. Okay, now we're gonna go to Deuteronomy 16 to 12, 16. Deuteronomy 16, 12, 16.
12, 16?
Correct. Chapter 16, 12 to 16. And thou shalt remember that thou was a bondman in Egypt, and thou shalt observe and do these statutes. Thou shalt observe the Feast of Tabernacles 7 days after that thou hast gathered in thy corn and thy wine, and thou shalt rejoice in thy feast. Thou, see this thing, you know, that's one thing about, you know, certain groups of people, you know, you put up a barbecue and it's party time, you know what I'm saying? You know, and joy, y'all wants joy, you know, y'all doesn't want, you know, people standing against the wall, just, you know, can't wait to leave. You want joy, have fun and praise, good food, good company, enjoy yourselves. Praise Yah. After that thou hast gathered in thy corn and thy wine, and thou shalt rejoice in thy feast, thou and thy sons and thy daughters and thy manservants and thy maidservants. So, you know, to help, come on, get, you know, Ruth, get a drink. You know, yeah, let me pour you one. You know, Abraham, let me get you. Hey, let me fill your cup up. You know, have fun. It's about, you know, rejoicing in Yah and having fun. Okay, and the Levites, the stranger, and the fatherless, and the widow that are within thy gates. 7 days shalt thou keep a solemn feast unto Yah, thy Yah, in the place which Yah shall choose. Because Yah, thy Elohim, shall rock thee in all thine increase, and in all the works of thine hands. Therefore, thou shalt surely rejoice. So when you partake in the feast days, it's just like you get a Shabbat blessing for keeping the Shabbat. Yes. You get a feast day blessing. Hey, you know, let me fill your cup up for, with a blessing, with a barak for the year. You know, since you partake, and you go back home. When the people didn't come, we're gonna get in trouble. They looking at your crops while it's growing, and they looking at their crops. Somebody y'all happy with, and somebody y'all mad at. And we obviously who y'all mad at. They gonna be like Job. He must have done something wrong. They, you know, what I'm saying. That's what they be like. Right here, man. Surely y'all wouldn't do this for no reason. No gleaming, no gleaming, no gleaming. You know. I mean, you know, don't be taking things, you know gleaming, but
gleaming is in the harvest.
No, I was just using that as a joke, you know what I'm saying, you know, because they gonna be wanting to glean, you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying, stealing apples and all types of stuff, you know. Three times in a year, so these are part of the big three, you know. 3 times in a year shall thy males appear before Yah thy Abba, in the place which he shall choose. So just like they have conferences, you know, they choose here, but obviously it was in Jerusalem, you know, for that time. But while Zion was in captivity, and then we're going to touch on that later on too, you know, when it was the time of the feast, you know, if you got to do something, make sure where you are, you do that, just like we're, you know, doing right now, you know.
That's correct. That is correct.
And in the feast of unleavened bread, and the feast of weeks, and in the feast of tabernacles. So those are the big 3: unleavened bread, weeks, and tabernacle. And they shall not appear before Yah empty. In that 16:1, empty-handed. You know, when you come here, you know, you better have some sheep, some cows, some corn, some grains. You know what I'm saying?
When you bring your offerings before Yah.
It's just like somebody coming to a barbecue. We got a whole buffet of food, but that one person who didn't bring anything gonna be looked at funny when they go get something to eat. Like, you didn't bring nothing, and you just over there just enjoying it. You know, that's how Yah is like, bring something with you. Don't bring empty-handed. And, all right. And the next one's going to be 1 Samuel 15:22. 1 Samuel 15:22. That's how y'all looking at it. You don't want y'all to look at you like, you didn't bring nothing to the feast, you know what I'm saying? There's nothing. You just bought your stomach. 15:22. And Samuel said, hath Yah as great delight in burnt offering and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of Yah? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken there than the fat of rams. So I bring that up, given the fact that, to emphasize on the 3 times a year, that's something that anybody who's seeking Yah should know the top 3. What's the big 3? If you Yah, you might need to, work on making sure you do it, but
sure.
You gotta make sure you know this, because Yah is asking you, why isn't this on your mind? These are the top 3, the Tabernacles, the Feast of Weeks, the first harvest. So I'll just put that in your memory, like Yah wants obedience, and it will be good, and one should do their due diligence to keep the feast, because Yah is happy that you're sacrificing, but He's happier that you're being obedient. Because some people, they just like the Levites in what was that? I think that was Malachi. They was just offering all type of busted goats and cows coming up, with limbs, and Yah's like, for real, this is what you come to bring me, for real,